What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another 3D Hangout. You got myself, Noe Ruiz, designer here at Adafruit. Joining me every week, my brother Pedro. What's up, man?
What's going on, everybody? I'm Pedro Ruiz, the creative tech here at Adafruit, and we come to share 3D printing and DIY electronics.
That's right. This is the show where we combine 3D printing, DIY electronics to make inspirational projects to inspire you guys at home.
That's right.
Yep.
We are the longest running project-based 3D printing show. Every week we
That's
have
right.
an awesome project to share and discount code.
That's right.
But damn, 10% off gets you, or use the coupon code TFT hat, and it'll get you 10% off during checkout.
That's
Got a
right.
large assortment of very awesome 3D printers that you can get, printing paraphernalia, and of course electronic components to bring your projects to life.
Okay, let's start off the show with some segments. We're starting off with, what are you prototyping?
That's right, so we take a look at some of the behind the scenes for a future episode.
Okay, and then we'll do layer by layer.
So we take a look at some of the CAD techniques that we use to model projects.
Okay, then we'll do shop talk.
That's this week we're gonna be taking a look at some awesome gear that we're taking a look at for Maker Faire.
And an announcement about Maker Faire. And then Q&A, YouTube questions.
That's right, you guys got questions, write them below in any of the videos that you see, and we will answer them in a future episode.
Okie dokie. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at the overview, doing some what are you prototyping?
That's right, so last week we showed you a giant 10.1 inch Raspberry Pi desktop.
Yeah, a lot
This
of folks
week,
seem to like it.
We have this itty bitty teeny tiny.
Yeah, so we
2.2.
printed this last week. This is the front case. This was printed on the printer bot. And now we have our little enclosure. So this is, of course, the 2.2 inch Pi TFT using the Raspberry Pi A+. The cool thing about this is it has no hardware. There's no glue. Everything snap fits together. And we'll take a look at the layer by layer in just a few moments. We're using Ninja Flex, that's the TPE, to make rubber actuators for these buttons. And the cool thing about this is it comes with a ready-to-go image for Raspberry Pi, so it works out of the box. And what we're going to do right now is we're going to take a look at monitoring our print job using Astroprint. So the cool thing about this is it has Chromium. That is the browser, a browser for StartX. And what we do is we have an audio launch script so that it automatically launches Chromium and goes to the Astrobox website. So it's really cool. So I have a USB hub here. This is one in the Adafruit shop. It has the Wi-Fi dongle and a USB dongle for our favorite keyboard. This is the Kano keyboard from Kano.me. It makes a great keyboard for all sorts of different Raspberry Pi projects. And you can see we have this Astrobox named PB Simple for Printer Bot Simple. And we really like Astroprint because it has a really nice responsive user interface. So it's going to work on all the devices, and even really, really small devices like that one. So this is a 320 by 240, whopping 320 by 240 display. Really good for small Pi projects, so that's what we'll be doing here. So we're just going to monitor it, and we're going to control it through our desktop here. So let's take a look at, give me a second here. So here's what we have for you folks. I have not just Astroprint, but I also have Octoprint running, okay? So I have Octoprint running here, and the cool thing about Octoprint is that it does a live video feed using the Raspberry Pi camera. The Raspberry Pi camera is, of course, supported for Astroprint, but it does not do live. It lets you do sort of snap pictures and time lapses on demand, but it's really cool. You get a nice sort of control in here. And here is the printer bot, Astrobox. So you can see the interface is different. So we're going to print a new project that Paige is working on. And it's starting to print off now. And if you take a look at the overhead, you will see, hopefully you'll see, not us upside down. You can see the print time has started. Yeah, you can bring it closer and the camera will compensate for the exposure. It's always hard to get exposure going on these little guys, but there you go, you got a time remaining. So this is a really cool project just to monitor your prints. You can, of course, control it too, but it's a lot easier if you're just sort of using it as a monitor. So that's kind of cool. And then, of course, we'll take a look at the Octoprint live feed. So you're seeing it's leveling right now. And it's pretty good in terms of like sort of frames per second and what do you call it, latency. It's got low latency.
It's pretty live, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty live.
The
So if you have all the stuff to do an Astroprint, I definitely recommend checking out or Octopi as well. They're both open source, and they both have their strengths and weaknesses. The real good thing about Astroprint, of course, is the mobile responsive interface, so it works with all sorts of different devices. And then Octoprint is really good for desktop and doing a bit more robust controls and things. So, cool.
All right, so while that print kicks off,
yeah, while that heats up and
go ahead and
starts
jump into our next segment,
yeah,
which is layer by layer on some of the cool techniques, CAD techniques that you took in building this awesome little enclosure.
Yep. So I put this together in Fusion 360, and it is a 3-part design. So the frame is separate from the top cover and the bottom cover. Cool thing about this is we're using components. These are linked components, so you can reuse these components in other projects, and if you update them, they'll get updated in whatever project that they're used in. So here we have the buttons for the Pi 2.2 TFT, and it has the screen and of course the mounting holes. Cool thing about linked, you can either have the option to break the link to create a new component so you can modify it within the project, or you can choose a different version, which I think is nice. So if I open it now, I'll just show you, I pretty much recreated the Raspberry Pi using Sketches. This is the model A+. So I use Sketches just to sort of get familiar with the sketches and things, and you'll notice that I put together a tutorial last week, or 2 weeks ago rather, on using sketch dimensions. Another thing is I put together a 3D printed spacer which will keep the two PCBs from each other, and you only need 2 of them because the back here already has the GPIO header, and that keeps the 2 boards separate from each other already. But I found if you don't have this 3D printed spacer, the boards tend to sort of pinch on each other. And you'll note that there's like a little cavity on the top and bottom, and that's for the top and the bottom covers to snap into it. So looking at the buttons here, they are 3D printed in NinjaFlex, of course, and there's an offset for the cutouts of the buttons of 0.2 millimeters. So that's the clearance there. That's the offset. Another thing I'll note is take a look at the standoffs on the bottom cover here, where it mounts to the PCB. Instead, typically you would see mounting holes. This time we're using the pegs. So pretty much taking from what we learned on the board tester that we put together, the editable board tester. We're using the same type of mounting. So we have some tall little pegs that are on the standoffs. And you also note that there is a lip. So there's like a 4 millimeter tall lip. And you'll see that there is these cutouts, these sort of openings. And what we did there is that if you look at the case, you'll see there are accompanying clips that snap into those cutouts. And what that does is it gives it more friction. So it keeps the enclosure much more together so it doesn't bulge out. It's nice. And there's a little clearance between them. If you're 3D printing, your tolerances are going to be, if they're exact and there's no clearance, it's not going to fit. So the trick here was to use a 0.2 millimeter clearance. So that's how that's working. It seemed to work really well. Another thing is I got this idea from our in-house designer, Mike Dole, who makes all our injection molded cases for the Raspberry Pi. And you'll see that it's recessed in. And when you do that, you definitely want to sort of pull the face inward inside the enclosure, and that way you get consistent thickness throughout the case. Another thing is on the SD card, I added a little guard, a little lip, so that because if it's not there, you'll end up with a lot of opening, and you can sort of see through the case. So that just sort of closes it up a little bit and just has just enough clearance for the SD card to still come in and out of. So that's just a little neat thing. But you'll note that it also has that little friction snap too on those edges as well. And the last thing I'll note is that the board actually stays within the case because the clips are pretty much flush up against the PCB. So you can still get the PCB in and out because you can fit it in at an angle with the recessed sort of port panel. It goes in that way. And I put together a full tutorial on the Adafruit Learning System. It's already up and the files are on Thingiverse, so you guys can modify this. Just a simple enclosure. My favorite part about it is that there's no hardware, like I was saying, and it's all just snap fit together, no glue required, and I think it fits on like every printer. It fits on the printer bot and everything, so that's really cool.
Perfect little Pi monitoring project for your
Yeah.
printer, or even we have code up on the learning system too to turn this into a GIF viewer or a little video looper. So this is excellent for doing like little installations or anything like that. Perfect little UI pipe viewer.
Okay. Well, I'm going to try printing again because the printer got disconnected somehow, but I just connected to it and it's heating up again. So hopefully it'll start printing. There it goes.
Switch over to the live cam.
Okay, let's take a look at the live cam real quick, folks, just to make sure it's still running.
And there's something you left out. You wanted to actually look at the terminal on how you set up the Kinko's mode.
Oh, the kiosk mode?
Yeah,
Okay.
or kiosk mode, Kinko's mode.
Yeah, it's a Kinko's. Yeah, sure. So let's go ahead and take a look at the overhead while I show you guys. Yeah, cut that. Okay. So inside terminal to put together the kiosk mode, you just SSH into your Raspberry Pi. I have the Wi-Fi credentials all set already. And you just SSH in, you log in, and then you can do, hopefully it's here already. Nope, it's not here. Okay, so I'll grab the line of code, and it's all linked below in the guide. I have it here. So all you're really doing is to set up Chromium to auto launch. You need to you need to edit this auto start file that's in the XL sessions directory. And if you look at the last line of code, it says here @Chromium, and then kiosk, and then a URL. So all it's doing is it's saying that Chromium launch in kiosk mode, and then go to this website. So this can actually be a local file, a video, or a GIF. In this case, it's the IP address to the Astrobox. And all this stuff here is just to turn off the auto sleep, because there's an auto sleep thing. And I figured I'd like to have that so that it doesn't shut off, so I can always see it. And I don't have to have a mouse connected to it to wake it up. So that's all it's doing. Of course, this is available on the Adafruit Learning System, and I'll have a link to that in the guide. Okay.
Very awesome little way to set up
I think it's really cool.
startup, boot up, and do something.
Okay, let's take a look at the next segment. That was layer by layer with a little bit of extra prototyping. So let's take a look at Shop Talk.
Okay, so for Shop Talk, we're going to be
Let's make
looking
the
at
announcement.
some gear for taking over to Maker Faire 2015. We're going to be in New York this year, and every time we travel around and shoot footage, it always hurts my back because our entire career we have to go, lug around like these expensive, heavy glass. So usually, one addition to many lenses that we always have to bring around, it's like literally 100 pounds worth of like tripods and like camera batteries and bodies, and it's just a mess when we have to travel and shoot footage. This year we wanted to take the portable approach and have very compact little GoPros. So as everybody knows, the little Hero 3s have excellent image quality, and we wanted to make sure that we had stabilized footage. So we're testing out the FIO Tech little gimbal stabilizer for your GoPro.
Yeah.
So what this is going to allow us to do is get very smooth footage when we're going through the Science Museum. So it has two modes. You have the pan and tilt mode and sort of like a free float type of mode, and then a third like inverse mode. So what this allows us to do is get very stabilized, buttery smooth imagery. The GoPro, we're using the 3 Plus, so it has excellent low light, low noise. I think we're going to be using the 1440 by 1080 resolution, so we can get a crisp image and be able to have like a nice wide angle view. So the cool thing about this is the 3-axis gimbal on this is just how steady, and you can see the footage here that we've been taking. So this will pan and tilt with you, and the cool thing about this, as you can see in this footage here, is it looks like we have a dedicated camera person with us, so we can sort of do like a selfie mode, sort of, holding the camera and make it look like there's a third person there. So this is what we really like about these. The panning and the tilt on is super smooth on all of these shots that we're getting out of this. And of course, because of how Maker Faire is, it's like outside, and then you go inside of a tent. You can see here we're using the spot metering function on this, so it's able to cut between different ISOs and the exposure like on the fly. So we really like the quality that we're getting out of this. Again, this is the FOIO, FEIU YU Tech little gimbal. So we're going to be using this little guy in conjunction with the lav mics. So we're going to be mic'd up.
Okay, so again, this is a FOIU Tech. This FEIYU Tech. So
you want to link it in the
out.
description?
It'll be in the description, and we will post more footage of this awesome little gimbal.
Cool.
And check it out.
All right. I think that covers all of the shop talk. So again, we're going to be at Maker Faire. We'll be doing some live coverage and maybe some interviews and just meeting up with a lot of folks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, next up, let's take a look at questions.
Sure. The next up is Q&A. Moving right along. Here we go with Q&A. This is where we answer your YouTube questions. The first question is from Andrew Powers. Has anyone tried the L&R bumpers to play Game Boy Advance games? Could you just route the extra 2 SNES buttons to the back of the case? Yep, you totally can.
It's been done a couple times.
It has been done. This is why I love open source projects. We throw something out there, and you folks take it, you remix it, and you recycle it, and make it better, and that's really cool. So if you take a look at the Pocket Pie Girl on Thingiverse, you can see there's tons of remixes already. There's a little remix button right there. But if you look at the original Game Boy, the bigger one, there's even more remixes. I really recommend checking out this one, the PSP Super Game Pi, Super Game Pi SP, or you can check out the Pi Boy Advanced. Any one of these are really, really good. Most of them have instructions, and you can leverage our instructions and sort of mix them and stuff. So that's really cool. Definitely check it out. Some folks have already done it, and hope that answers your question. Okay. Next up, thank you again, Andrew, for that question. This one is from Ashley Judy. Hi, Noe and Pedro. Do you think the Lolipop TAS5 is a good 3D printer to start out with? You can print many different types of filament, has a big plate, and it can be upgraded in the future with dual extrusion fans, etc. I really like the Lolipop TAS5. It is a good machine, but I definitely wouldn't recommend it if you're starting out. It definitely requires a little bit more sort of maintenance involved. If your extruder gets clogged, or if your heat resistor block blows, you're in for a little bit of downtime. Something like the FlashForge Creative Pro is half the price. It has the MK dual extruder, so it works with NinjaFlex out of the box. And it's got a machine aluminum parts. None of the parts are 3D printed, so they're really rigid and it's really reliable. So I would definitely recommend something like the FlashForge Creative Pro. You can pick it up from their website, or you can wait for us to get it in stock. We're still working on getting it in stock. We know you folks want to check it out, but yeah, that's it.
At this point in time, I just can't recommend any printers that have
Faulty
3D printed parts
Okay.
in general, period. When you said they break down, and when you have a deadline, you can be very sad.
Right on.
So definitely.
And the build plate is big, and that is a benefit. And it's
if you need something big, yeah, we have the Type A machines, which has a even bigger build plate in it. So
and it comes with a heated bed now. That one.
Yeah, you can get one with a heated bed.
Cool.
They don't have a dual extrusion model, but then again, if that's something you're really looking at.
It is a good one in terms of starting out with, because it comes with Octoprint, and the UX for that is pretty straightforward. You plug it in, it's on the Wi-Fi, man.
And you're talking about Type A.
I'm talking about the Type A, yeah. FlashForge Creative Pro has an onboard LCD, so you don't really need to connect it. You can have it tethered if you like, or put a Raspberry Pi on it. It's still really good. I like Selfish. It's really good.
But if you're going to be printing big ABS industrial type parts, so if you're doing like, I don't know, stuff like boats or cars or like giant costume things that need to be in ABS, just be prepared to be sort of like a printing, fixing expert.
Sure, yeah.
If you notice that this show is mostly design and projects, we don't really like delve in too much into fixing a printer or how it works, anything like that. We want to print a project, and if that's what you want to do, definitely look elsewhere.
Yeah.
If you
Thank you for the question, Ashley. Next up, this was from Tenka Potamus. I have the same Wi-Fi dongle, but it's not working with mine. I bought it from the Adafruit store, and on Astroprint's forum, it says it only works with one Wi-Fi adapter, not the one in your video or mine. Did you make any changes or enter anything into the terminal? Is there any way you can try a fresh install and see if an update broke support? I'm glad you mentioned that. We actually have 8 different Raspberry Pis that are all set up, and they all use the very same Wi-Fi dongle. Sometimes they do get a little bit messed up or clogged with the Wi-Fi. You can restart your Wi-Fi router, or you can try logging in So use your desktop to log into the hotspot that's on the Raspberry Pi. So the Raspberry Pi will create and set up its own hotspot, and then you can just jump on that and manage it through there. And I found that to be the most useful thing. And also, if you have a very specific case, you can take your logs and send them to the kind folks over at Octoprint, and they will take a look at it. So, yeah.
So again, yeah, it should work with those USB dongles.
Oh yeah, definitely works.
Wi-Fi dongles, like you said, yeah, the exact same ones.
Yeah, and this one right here,
the Raspberry Pi one, the little white one, with the Raspberry Pi logo on it.
It's not the same.
That one works as well.
Yeah, it works as well. Okay, next question. This is from Marcus Caesar Wonka. It would be great if you guys can make a tutorial for 1, 2, 3D users who want to have a look at Fusion 360. Maybe some advantages or some general tips and tricks for changers. Fusion 360 makes much more stable impression in my opinion. What do you guys think? Give me some thumbs up. Definitely thumbs up. I did put together a tutorial on how to get your 1, 2, 3 files into Fusion 360, but I definitely want to take a stab at sort of just some tips, some things to note around, because it is a little bit different to move around. We've had several months now as a transition, and you've seen all our projects sort of get updated, but I'm still using 1, 2, 3 for like single purpose parts, things that are just one part. 1, 2, 3 works well.
Yeah. And again, like we said last week, you're always going to have to use multiple
programs. Your tool chain's got to be So get
comfortable using a lot of different programs.
Yeah, check out Mesh here too. All right, well, thank you, Marcus, for that one. I'll get working on that. This one's from Cedric. The printer is making the table shake. Do you think it affects the print quality? So last week we were showing the printer bot printing this very same part, and that is the part that printed on the printer bot.
Yeah, the thing that was wobbly actually was the tripod. Yeah.
But the table did shake.
Mm-hmm. So when it's shaking, it's all shaking together.
So the
it's not
shaking
doing.
together.
Yeah, it's not doing this. So yeah.
The printer bot's a rigid machine. It has the rods instead of linear bearings, so it's really rigid and it's really tough.
Yep, so
Speaking of which, let's check it out right now.
Jump live to next week's prototype.
Oh my god, I hit the wrong file. I'm actually printing this file again. Oopsies.
Oh,
all right, sorry folks.
These, so.
Yeah, right. Well, anyway, Pedro, your project is safe and secret. No one will know. Okay, well, let's take a look at the next question. Thank you, Cedric, for that one. Printerbot is solid. This one's from Andrew Bevelheimer. Hey, what's up, man? I'm wanting to build an Astro box with a Pi that includes a Pi TFT so I can have onboard controls. Is there any way to go about doing this, or any printer host software designed to run directly on the Pi and not through your network? Well, unfortunately, all the host software right now that uses the Raspberry Pi takes advantage of it being a server, and that's the way it communicates with the printer. So what I think you want to try to get is not a Raspberry Pi, but an actual LCD controller board that is compatible with your printer. So I did a little bit of researching, and I found a really good guide, a really good video guide from Mr. Thomas Elmander. So he has a bunch of 3D printed guides, and he walks you through how to set up a $16 LCD screen. He takes you through setting up the software, configuring the buttons, and just sort of overall tips and techniques on how to put it together. It seems pretty straightforward, and of course all his videos and guides are really good, so you want to subscribe to Thomas for more cool projects and tips. Okay?
Check out.
Yeah, hopefully that will help you out there. I think that's what you need, Andrew. But thank you for the question, guys. That is going to be it for this Q&A. All right, if you folks want to get your questions answered, all you have to do is ask them below in any of the YouTube videos. We'll always check them out. But until then, that's going to be the rest of the show. We're going to leave you guys off with some links. So be sure to check out the guides on the Adafruit Learning System. We got a lot of cool projects every week coming out, not just from us, but all our remote team folks.
Don't forget to check those out. First, it's where it goes live before we post the shows.
Oh yeah, every Monday. Just about. Okay. Definitely check out Becky's show, Wearable Electronics. It's on every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.
And right after that, a little bit
after that, yeah. Around 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, you can share your projects on the show and tell on Google Hangouts.
That's right.
Lamar and Phil.
Come by, hang out, show off some of the projects that you guys are working on.
Let us see what you're working on, yeah. Okay, and then after that, 1 hour of Ask an Engineer, Lamar and Phil, all open source, Raspberry Pi, Arduino, and more. DIY Electronics.
That's right. Check it out.
All right, and the coupon code on those 2 shows as well. Okay, that's going to be it for this show, folks. Thank you so much for watching. Again, the code is PITFT. So get on that one. Get yourself 10% off.
That's right.
Okay. All right, folks. Remember, we'll be at Maker Faire, so if you guys want to say hi, hopefully we can meet up with you guys. But until then, be sure to keep on making. I'll see you guys next week.
See you guys.
All right.